we go, that should be good enough. Right, here's Brenda's body, as it were. Going to be looking today at how we can enhance our features. I'm going to make this real quick. So you can make single embellishments. I use feathers because I love feathers. Feathers have a natural curve to them, and so do bottoms, essentially. This has got a little popper on it, but these pants don't have a popper. So you'd have to imagine that on either side here, there's a small popper. And I would simply stick whatever it is I've made to the bum area. And depending on the direction in which I lay it, it's going to be more flattering one way or the other. Yeah, so I wouldn't, for instance, stick it on upside down. One, because it's a heart, and two, because it looks stupid. So you want to be following natural curves. Even if you don't think you've got natural curves there, they are there. You just may need to enhance them by adding something that's in a 3D shape, essentially, because that then, when that's stuck on, because it's only got one popper on there, it's not being forced to sit flat against the pants, so it creates more of a shelf on your bottom. So there's those. If you want to highlight, increase the appearance of the size of your buttocks, if you run a small belt, I'm just using a piece of ribbon here, but it needs to be small and it needs to not sit at the very top, because by sitting at the very top it actually makes the waist look more up and down, so it takes away from the shape. But by coming down by roughly an inch there, and it being narrow, it's going to make the bottom appear fuller, which is going to make the waist appear smaller. Now, you think, so that's not, that could happen with any ribbon. Well, it's actually not true. I have one here that's an inch thick, which is potentially, it's 3 times the width of the one you've just seen. If I follow that line along there, it's less flattering because it's then cutting into where the butt cheeks are. If I take it to the top, again, it's not making the waist look narrower. It's just giving a really peculiar shape to the waist and the bum area. So when you're looking, if you're looking to highlight something, bear in mind the width of the materials that you're using and the position of it. And I would say don't go all the way to the top. It's going to make your waist appear more square. You're going to want it to sit, well, that's roughly an inch below the top of your pole shorts, essentially. Also, the only way you can really go thicker and it not look peculiar is if you use something which doesn't have straight edges to it. So yes, so stay away from thick ribbons and thick belts, and stay away from the very top edge of whatever it is that you're wearing, because unless the top edge already has some form of V shape to it, you're not going to be enhancing anything. You're going to be making yourself appear more blocky. If you consider yourself to have a flat bum, there's feathers for that. there's feathery solution for that. So I curved, not all of them. If I just, oh crikey, I just drop them down. There's a small section here where you can see that I've curved some of the feathers in comparison to this side where they're all sitting in their natural state. And all I did was put the inside, ran my scissors along the back side of the feather to create that curved effect. Now, again, depending on where you position this is going to make your bottom appear to be more fuller because it's got the curves in the feathers. Now, if I now just take that along and put the flat part of the feathers there, it's got a completely different look. That's a good way to give your bottom more fullness and a more flattering appearance. The thong line area, I'm going to call that. I would say don't stick anything there, quite frankly, unless you have a naturally perky bottom that you want to highlight. Unless it is literally like, doink, you've got like a shelf you could put a cup of tea on. You're not going to do yourself any favours. However, if you were to take something like ostrich feathers and place them across just where the waist is starting to form that top part of your butt cheek, essentially, whether it's a full or a flat one, what you're going to do is you're going to give more height to your bottom. It's going to make it appear more fuller. Easy peasy. Don't stick them on, because if you stick them on, it's going to follow the shape you've already got. If you sew them on securely, and because they've got quite thick spines at the top there, it's a very easy sewing exercise, and you don't need to worry about putting anything along the lower half, because the feather is so flexible and everything. The weight and the strength is all in this first 1.5 inches. And they're rigid though, so you really only need something at this very top edge here. So you could glue them. I would glue them and sew them on, because the fabric glue is an aid, and the sewing is just that peace of mind, and it means you can concentrate on just attaching this side, attaching the correct amount of feather to ensure that you keep that curve that you're after. And again, these feathers can be curved as well. So if you're like, well, actually my bum doesn't go completely out like that, run the scissors along. Where are my scissors? Here they are. Ideally, I just wanted to be touching the spine of the feather. And you don't, there we go, I'm getting my fingers in with the feathers now. So I'm just simply pinching it along it. If I continue to drag it too furiously, I'm just going to simply remove the fluff from the feather, and then I'm going to end up with nothing but a spine attached to my butt, which is not the look I'm going for. I'm going to suggest that's got enough curvature. So we get them both back together. Imagine I've got my needle and thread. I'm using a colour that corresponds to the feather. We have now got a nice curve coming around that butt there. Equally, if you're not happy with a certain area, you can attach the feathers to hide it. Now, there's a real nice way, or a real nice version, nice, easy, simple ostrich feather, which I adore. And I'm about to whip Brenda around now. So we've talked about the waist area and about where you position something and the thickness that you use. All relative, 1, to the size of your bottom, and 2, to the size of the pants that you're wearing. You don't want what you're attaching to get lost, but equally you don't want it to be the focal. You want you to be the focal, and you're going to use the correct width to achieve that. Now, if we come round to the front, this is going to apply to the back as well. Now, this here is an absolute gem ostrich feather fringe. So if you can, let me just check, make sure she's actually in the camera shot. Right, let's make her square on, so it's actually a good representation. That's going to be it. So these are high-waisted, high-legged dance pants. Now you can see here, just by attaching that ostrich feather fringe there, I have created a narrower torso area, a fuller hip area, and covered over the thigh. So I've in effect just transformed the shape of Brenda's torso along one side. Now, if I were to do a similar thing, but instead of using the feather fringe, I was to place something like this, you can achieve the same look, but obviously you're then not disguising this area. You're not creating a drastic hip change in hip size there. It's still gorgeous, and I think it's adorable, but it depends what it is that you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to make your waist appear smaller and your hips a bit bigger, so you've got more of an hourglass figure? Do you already have an hourglass figure and you simply want to make it appear that your torso is smaller? This works. So you create more of an hourglass figure because you've already got the waist drawn in naturally, that you're adding this, and it creates a smaller tummy area. Okay, and we've got this edge here, this line here rather. I'm just going to follow it down and around to there. Pin, pin, pin. I did put it in the pot, well done me. we have now shrunk the size of Brenda's bottom rather significantly, in the sense that we're making it narrower. So if you are in possession of a bottom that you believe is big but not beautiful, because you're not happy with the shape of it, you can change the shape of your bottom by using ostrich feather fringe, and by simply going at the right angle, you are going to, one, create some fullness. So you're going to draw in at your waist there, because if I just turn her a tiny bit there, you can see the placement of that feather fringe. It chops out a good chunk of the pants. Now those pants are already high-waisted, but now looking at it from that angle, you're like, wow, Brenda, that is one heck of a silhouette you've got yourself there, lady. And it's purely because of these fluffy feathers and the way that they lay against things. If you have a bottom you are wanting to change the size of, that is your ultimate answer. So you can fabric glue those on. I would place the fabric glue along the ribbon of the ostrich feather fringe. Have a line drawn out on your pants. So drawing lines on your clothing to change the appearance of things with a piece of play chalk is going to be one of the best things that you can do. And from that you can decide what it is you're going to enhance, or what it is you're trying to disguise. Again, so we had a look at the very thin ribbon across the back of the pants there. Equally, the feather fringe will do the same job, but it will do it in what I consider a much more spectacular fashion. I'm now going to have to hold this around the other side, so bear with me, so I'm going to have to reach around Brenda like that. Oopsies, grab it, there we go. So that line that we had the ribbon on earlier is now going to have a line of feather fringe, and because you've got the contrast in black and white there, you are making her waist appear narrower, and you are making her hips appear fuller, and you are giving her bottom more shape. So you can use the feather fringe to increase the size of your bottom, to make your torso appear smaller, your bottom appear fuller, and also more shapely. It is the ultimate easy fix. Stay away from thick ribbons, and I'm going to suggest, even if you are particularly large size, don't go for like a 3-inch thick ribbon or something like that. You're looking to trick people, essentially. You know, it's like a filter, but it's a filter in real life that requires something other than technology. So your placement of your stuff is key. The width of the stuff that you use is key. And I'm also going to suggest that for something like this, and these pants probably aren't the best ones to use because they've got quite a sharp line to their edge. But you can, well, the world's your oyster. If you put a V into something, maybe not on a contrasting thing like this so much, I don't think that's going to, although the chalk lines look good. So in theory, this is also going to look good if attached. To have a V shape there, it's definitely going to create the illusion of more shapely butt cheeks. It depends what you're after. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to make this appear fuller? Are you trying to make this appear fuller? Are you trying to make this appear narrower? Are you trying to make this appear narrower? Easily done with very, very simple manoeuvres. So you don't want to sew your ostrich feathers directly onto your pants, especially if they've got this kind of high lycra content, because boy oh boy is it painful to try and get a needle through basically something which feels like rubber. This is where this tool comes in, because you would lay your pants down, and again, it doesn't need to be on a Brenda. Once you've drawn your marks on, especially if you're working on the front, because you can look in a mirror and see the front. The back is a bit trickier. You're going to need somebody's help, or you're going to physically need the feathers and hold them against you. and then just kind of do clip it using the bulldog clips or something to the area to begin with, and then you're going to be taking them off, putting them on. Yeah, a little bit of a faff, but I would suggest the result would be worth it. What you would do is you would have a piece of tulle bigger than the pants that you're working on. You would secure your feathers to the tulle, okay, and then once you've got your feathers secured to the tulle, now imagine Brenda's laying down flat, okay, and this is on top. You would secure the feathers to the tulle, so you'd be like, okay, that line's up there, needle and thread, bing bang bong, lay it on there. Okay, need the other feather, so let's grab you. Okay, so we need the other feather. Okay, that one's going to go there. Right, I'll sew that one on there, bang bang bong. So you've got the feathers sewn to the tulle, which then means you're simply attaching the tulle to the underpants, which is going to be less work because you're going through a very thin piece of fabric. You've still got to go through your lycra based dance pants, but it's going to be much easier than trying to get through and around the top of a bloody feather and back through the other side. It's going to be a lot more forgiving. Equally, what you can do, and this is you know, personal preference. This is a suggestion. Okay, you use the piece of tulle that's bigger than the pants that you're wearing, because what you can then do with the top, and I'm going to show it. I'm just going to dip it down on Brenda. You can fabric glue the tulle to the top edge of the pants there on the inside, which then means your feathers will already lay down. You don't have to sew through anywhere. I would, just a couple of places, but normally it's the top edges of the dance pants that are particularly furious with elastic of some kind. That will completely rule out the stabbing of fingers with the back of a needle, because of the amount of pressure you're having to apply to it to trying to get it to burst through to the other side. Tulle is an amazing tool for this type of thing. I would avoid belts at the front, really, unless you have really well defined waist sort of thing. So, because otherwise what will happen is you will make yourself appear more square. As it just so happens, at this very moment, the little rose is sat in the centre of Brenda's torso, and it dips down slightly, which creates a flattering look. If I now drop that, and I switch that for my cream ribbon here and place it across, that's not winning anybody over. That's just making you appear very blocky. So careful on the width of the things that you choose. Careful on the types of things that you choose. Remember, bigger isn't always better when it comes to embellishments. That's basically it. Draw on your pants with kids' chalk. Really, it's the best way to do it. If you've got white dance pants, you're gonna have to get coloured chalk. That's also available in the shops, thankfully. Still, okay, right. Let's call that a wrap.